is Seascape Sprint. 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome to Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've been thinking about. This is Destruction Derby 64, and if you're still living in 1990 something, you're probably thinking, what the fuck? I thought this was PS1 exclusive. Well, I think actually the second game had a PC version, didn't it? Look, it's a PC game released for Windows 95. It might as well not exist anymore as far as we're concerned, unless it has a very, very dedicated following making fan patches to get it up and running. But regardless though, this is, okay, the music is actually really good, and I don't give a shit, okay, because like, I guess it's technically not as fitting as the cool metal stuff that's in the other games, which I love metal to be fair. But I really love the way it sounds as well. And am I the only one who gets kind of reminded of Beetle Adventure Racing with this game? Like the intro, and actually that's pretty much just the intro and the fonts, but I swear to God, it wasn't made by the same people. This wasn't made by Paradigm, this was actually made by Looking Glass Studio, released in October of 1999, I believe. It was a bit late 1999. It has nothing to do with EA, nothing to do with Need for Speed. And really the main thing that this game kind of inspires me to want to talk about right now is racing games with a non-conventional scoring system. What the fuck is the announcer going on about? I'm not sure. But as you can see right now, even though I'm kind of in first, I'm not in first. I'm in ninth, actually. I have a score. Watch what happens when I do something that in most racing games would... Oh, there you go, would get me in trouble. Now I just went up a few positions. That's right. You are encouraged to crash the fuck into people, and you even get time for it. So they kind of act as checkpoints. So that's what's interesting. You technically, I believe, can win based on score from your checkpoints alone, but it's so unlikely, especially when compared to the amount of points that you get just by crashing into dudes. So if I go like that, boom, I'm in third place now. Now all I have to do is drive for a little bit longer, and I'll be in first place before I even know it. Now, okay, I'm still not in first place though. How do I feel about a system like this? See, I've never been the biggest fan of stuff like Carmageddon and Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8. Never really cared for those games, honestly. And it's primarily because I just like my racing. But I think the reason why Destruction Derby actually works really well with me. I'm not gonna lie, I've actually never played the PlayStation titles, but I've seen enough of 1 and 2 just on YouTube that I kind of know I'm not gonna like them. The handling just doesn't look like the kind of thing that I enjoy from a racing game, and the rubber banding, or I guess lack thereof, and the way the scoring system works, it makes the game feel counterintuitive to me. But here, they've actually done a really good job seamlessly teaching the player about the scoring mechanic. Because as you probably noticed when the race started, all of the opponents were facing different directions. So right now, I'm going to crash into that dude. I'm going to go basically off myself now, and I'll still win because I have so many points. But by just virtue of the fact that the game starts with opponents facing each other like that, you basically have no choice but to learn. See, I've lost, but actually... no, but actually, yes, I win, as you just saw. That's how it works. Of course, the purist racer in me is like, no, that can't be the case. You can't win even though you lost. But really, it makes this game stand out. I imagine it's going to get more... Oh, fuck, I forgot this game has a burnout system. I imagine it'll get more difficult as it goes on, and I'll have to try and find a better balance between genuinely racing through the checkpoints and also also crashing into stuff to get points. For now, the actual point to damage ratio seems very much in your favor, as in you can crash and take a fuck ton of damage, but the amount of points you get will outweigh the potential deficit, the potential problem that it might create from taking that damage, right? So as long as you just crash, you will win, if that makes sense. Again, this is still a novice. I haven't played the game too much, but that's because these kind of racing games, this particular variety of them, even though I very much appreciate them and I really love their different take on the genre, and it's sad that we don't get too many games like this anymore, at least not in the AAA, because it's risky, right? You can't really take risks. There's still plenty of great, more independent, tiny racing games that actually do stuff similar to this with their unique scoring systems, unique mechanics. They don't always succeed, but still, I do appreciate something different like this. But what about this game as like on its own merits? Like, how does it stand? How is it? Is it fun though? Yeah, I'd say it's pretty fun. I'm not gonna pretend like it has the most replay value, the most engaging driving model. The track design is, well, the track design isn't bad for what it has to serve. As in, this game is not about precise handling and tricky cornering and really outsmarting your opponents. It's all about just creating an area where, basically a big bowl. In fact, the game literally has a derby mode. In fact, I think after this event, we will be doing one of them. I mean, we can find out. I can basically just, again, end the race prematurely, but let me just score some points while I'm at it too. You know, might as well like take some people with me as I die. But that's the thing, that's how this game works. So what you can do now is just crash. Oh, for fuck's sake, I missed. Crash. There. Boom. Now I have no health left, so one more crash and I'm gone. But because I have so many points, I'm guaranteed to win. On one hand, this is cool because it will alleviate some of the frustration you might have from like a last-second save from the AI and you end up losing anyway. And it also allows you to... it rewards you for interacting with the main gimmick. You know, like for example, in a game like Twisted Metal or something, if you had races where you actually had to race, like try and win, it kind of makes the game feel backwards because it doesn't make sense. Now, what about Flat Out? If you really think about it, this game kind of feels like a precursor to the Flat Out games because, again, it's a racing game with an emphasis on destruction. Well, here's the thing. In Flat Out, you know, I'm pretty sure that in the Flat Out games, you cannot win solely via destruction. You definitely get bonuses for it. I think you get some extra money too, but you still have to come in first. Now, in that game's defense, though, the driving is much stronger, I feel. I mean, it's kind of unfair to compare the two because, you know, the first Flat Out was like 2004, this was 99. It's a little bit of a difference, right? And if you really think about it, actually, no, what was the first ever game that Bugbear made? Or at least first racing game? Wasn't it Rally Trophy, which was... I don't remember when it was. Was it 2002 or was it... It couldn't have been 1999. Doesn't matter, though. In that game, the driving is much stronger, so it makes sense they would prioritize that, even though it has a fantastic damage model. Also, in terms of... Can't we all just get along? It's pretty funny. In terms of how this game handles damage, it's quite rudimentary. As you can see, it's N64, so there's not really much you can expect, but there are some games from this generation that handle damage quite well. In fact, a Driver, for example, which isn't even like a Destruction Derby game, it's just an open-world racer, that game did damage quite well, actually. And even, okay, this is going to be a really specific one, but Tank Racer, I still love the way that certain objects in that game deform and bend when you stomp on them, right? It really sells the weight of your tank. These are really the only events, the Derby events, are the only ones that feel like there's genuinely a little bit of strategy to how much you want to prioritize your own health versus draining your opponent's health, right? And I noticed something. T-bones don't get you a lot of points. It seems that this game figures out how many points to give you just based on where you hit the opponent. Instead of, oh, I like that automatic flip, that's real cute. Instead of the strength of the hit or how much damage it does, it's just, oh, you hit them from the side. Look at that, 1 fucking point and I'm dead. In fact, I think I just got 12 yeah, how the fuck? How did I go from 4th to 12th place? That's what I don't get. But, I don't think I'm gonna I mean, it doesn't really matter too much because as you can see, I'm pretty sure I still get to keep going, yeah. As long as I get enough points. See, the way the game introduces the tracks really, really reminds me of Beetle Adventure Racing. And it wasn't made by the same people, but this game just constantly has like this Beetle Adventure Racing thing going on for some reason. I quite like that game. This game runs a billion times better, that's for sure. And another thing is that for some reason the environments in this game give me a very Need for Speed 2 vibe. Specifically Need for Speed 2. No other Need for Speed game. Need for Speed 2. When I look at a lot of these tracks, I get reminded of places like Sydney, or no, the Outback track, that's what it's called, or Proving Grounds, right? Those kind of tracks from Need for Speed 2. I couldn't tell you why. It's probably just the set dressing. the very simplistic structure of them, I don't actually mind the fact that, again, the tracks are super simple in design. Most of them are just ovals. On one hand, I imagine maybe that helps the game's performance, because you've seen games like Beetle Adventure Racing. That game has super elaborate tracks and is the better looking game, but holy shit, it runs like crap. It runs like complete shit. Even though it is quite nice as a game overall, but still, you know, I like this theme of like an airport stage. Is this an airport? It kind of looks like one. And there's a level of, it's like the environments are kind of gritty, but they don't feel too dirty or too grungy, you know what I mean? And there's a very colorful, sort of exaggerated character to this game, especially the menus. And again, the music is actually kind of sick, even though it's not like super memorable. But yeah, for whatever reason, this reminds me very specifically of Need for Speed 2, and I think it just has to do with the way the tracks are designed, both visually and in terms of level design, and they work just fine. Again, there's no real focus here on actually being a proper racing game, right? There's this phenomenon of just how something as simple as driving a car around can be split up into a million different subgenres. You have arcade racers, then you have arcade racers, right? Like Ridge Racer. Then you have kart racers, then you have simcades, and you have full-on simulation. Okay, no racing game is really full-on simulation. There's always going to be a little bit of room for interpretation because it's still a video game after all. Although, you know, some are more accurate than others, according to, you know, people who I guess are specialists. Even though often, even when like a game development studio consults a professional racing driver for when making their game, they won't necessarily play like it won't be a simulator. You know, like for example, a lot of people from the industry have actually been involved with the Colin McRae and Dirt games, and I don't think there's a single one, other than maybe Rally 1 and 2. Other than those, I don't think any of them, any of the others, are in any way realistic. Honestly, right? Like, I still cannot fucking believe the bullshit they tried to sell with Dirt Free. Like, that's a great game, but I remember watching this interview. I think it was on Inside Sim Racing. That was a pretty fun channel. It's not around even on... I think some of the people who used to run it have their own channel going now. Maybe it's... I'm not sure if it's still going, but it has videos that are more recent. But anyway, the point is, though, that they had this interview with Codemasters, and they legitimately said that they were building the game from the wheel outwards. What that means is they were prioritizing racing wheel support. And yes, the game has racing wheel support, but no, it's not a game that you need a wheel to play. And they know this, because if they made it a game like that, they wouldn't sell at all, because there's a reason why, you know, Codemasters games, in fact, Codemasters are even still around at all, even if, honestly, the fate of the Dirt series is kind of in jeopardy, because, well, Dirt 5 wasn't very good. No, I don't think it was even made by them necessarily. I think it was made by like a different branch of their studio, I'm not exactly sure. And now they're owned by EA, and they're making WRC, and did you know that Criterion are actually working on, or have already worked on, assuming whenever this video comes out, Battlefield 6. Yeah, I get the Need for Speed guys to do that. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not like developers can't be you know, they can't be versatile. For example, Black Box, the old Need for Speed guys, they made the skate games, and I mean, they were pretty fucking good. They were clearly successful enough to get free entries, and the third one in particular, while it must have not done as well because there hasn't been another game since. I don't know what happened to that. Wasn't there going to be a fourth one, but it never happened? I don't know. Well, funnily enough, that game kind of saw a massive resurgence in like the mid-2010s thanks to YouTube, right? Like all of its hilarious physics and stuff. It essentially resulted in the game being a breeding ground for funny YouTube moments. And it's really cool when games kind of get like their moment like that. And I wonder, how well would a Destruction Derby... Oh, you know what? That's a really stupid statement. I was about to say, how well would a Destruction Derby game fare today? Well, quite well, because Wreckfest exists. Also, maybe I dreamed this up or something, but I swear to God I've seen like images of Wreckfest 2. Is that happening? Is Wreckfest 2 actually happening? For some reason, I swear to God, I remember like browsing like Reddit or something and seeing it there. but now I can't quite recollect it. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it is happening. Who knows? I mean, Wreckfest is pretty cool, even though, like, honestly, I'm still, like, so behind that I still, in my head, I call it next car game. Remember that weird-ass demo they did for it, the tech demo, where you're in, like, a giant white world shooting, when you could, like, go into first person and shoot rockets and shit? It wasn't even, like, that much of a racing game. It was hilarious, and it showcased the really cool physics. Also, just realized there's only one opponent left, and he's going slow as ass. So I'm gonna cross him. Let's see if this happens. See if this works. I'm gonna turn around and, oh, no, he's already, shit. Okay, let's turn around. I just want to take him out, honestly, because he is the only guy left, and I'm in second place because of him. So I think we can, see, there you go. That's this game in action right now. I'm approaching it completely differently from a normal racing game. In any normal racing game, I would just say, fuck 'em, man, white knuckle tight, you know, just keep going forward. But in this game, I'm like, actually, what I want to do, oh, it's really cool. The wreckage of your other opponent stays on the track. That must have been pretty impressive back then, because, you know, having to keep all those opponents loaded at once. I mean, they don't have any AI or anything, but still, they have to be there geometrically, and the game has to remember that they're there. But anyway, let's take this fucker out. I'm gonna get my first place, damn it, get back here. Why do we all have the same stats? Well, I guess because we're stock cars. You know, it always makes you wonder, how cheap do you think that Destruction Derby places actually get their Destruction Derby cars? Because, yeah, I win. Oh, for fuck's sake, now I have to sit here and wait? Because I just realized there's no fucking ticket price in the world that could possibly, like, assuming that they get them for more than dirt cheap, but maybe I'm grossly overestimating how much Destruction Derby cars cost, right? I mean, they barely even have to work, so I guess maybe it's not too hard to make a profit on that. I mean, think about it, because how many cars would you have to get? Actually, no. Yeah, come to think of it, if you spend, like, let's say $100 on, like, let's say 7 cars in the event, but 700 people show up with, like, you know, $20 tickets, okay, I can see something like that happening. Yeah, that would make sense. Anyway, what am I even doing? I think we're just gonna do what, ooh, I got a new thing. I got the street rocket, and I'm saving now. Cool. Well, it's too soon to land it off just now. God damn it, now it sent me back to the freaking start screen. I don't know, let's start just the next amateur championship, I guess. Let's see, what kind of new cars do we have? So this is the car selection screen. As you can see, very creative here with the names. Car 9, Car Free. Car, one of these is not like the other. Car 6, Car 7, Car, got a bunch of them. Oh, we have the American car. Obviously, we have to drive one of those. And I'm doing the exact same track as I was doing before. I'm in Apatos again. So let's just do a quick little recap, though. What was I even talking about? I mean, like, this game is fun, actually. I'm having a much better time with it than I was expecting to, and I'm definitely having a much better time than what I anticipate I would have with the PS1 games. I haven't played them. It seems kind of ignorant, but I really don't want to play them. They look far too heavy to drive. And again, the way the AI will sometimes, like, the thing is, it doesn't rubber band, and from what I've seen, it results in a lot of very one-sided races where you're either just constantly in front or constantly in the back, and I don't find that too exciting unless the game has an extremely intricate handling model where even if you're in the lead for a decent amount of the time, you have to be constantly putting an effort to stay in the lead. That's not what these games are like. They're actually quite simple. And as for how well they adapted the style of those games into N64, as you can see, it's very different. And I understand why they didn't go for like a metal soundtrack approach like they did with the PS1 games, because it's kind of tricky getting like MIDI guitars sounding good, right? Because there's no fucking way they could actually put an entire proper metal soundtrack that's pre-recorded on here without compressing it to shit like Top Gear Overdrive, right? The reason why they sounded the game... Well, funnily enough, though, the first game had an electronic soundtrack even on PS1, but with the second game, that's when they went metal. And it makes sense because it's much easier just to record a bunch of guitars, like, you know, and bass and all that, and it's just a regular, like a record, like an album, but you just put it, for fuck's sake, but you put it on the disc. Whereas here, it's like, that just can't happen. But electronic music lends itself very well to being MIDI'd. I'm pretty sure, again, if I were to just crash into someone, I would just guarantee myself a third place, and oh no, I got a fourth place, didn't I? Ah, phooey, that's not cool. But to be fair, that would make me think a little more about when I wanted to sort of retire. That's another cool thing as well. Games where you can kind of choose when to end it yourself, and you have to really take a gamble with that, because on one hand, if you've chosen correctly, you just save a bunch of time, not having to play the game needlessly and just skip to the next thing. But if you decided to cash in too soon, or even too late possibly, then you would basically be screwing yourself over. You know, like maybe if I lasted a little longer in that last event, I would have had a higher position. But right now on this event, if I were to just score enough points, I could just fucking end it right there and not have to worry. And that's a very different and cool approach. We don't see a lot of it today, right? So yeah, this has been Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've been thinking about, that I've got some thoughts on, and this is Destruction Derby 64, a very fun adaptation of the PS1 classic, well, both PS1 classics. Kind of a shame that we don't have this exact series anymore, but again, Wreckfest exists, even though it is quite different. Pretty big fan of the design. I love the way it looks, I love the way it sounds. It's just so unmistakably N64, and it is very, very enjoyable, I gotta say. So this has been Destruction Derby 64, 1999, N64. Go figure.